All right, welcome people to our podcast. My name is Eddie. This is
Julian,
aka the Pud. We call each other the Pud.
Hood.
We've known each other for how long
20 something years.
Yeah, about 20 something years. Yo, this my hitter right here.
Everybody's hitter. Right or not.
You can't be everybody's hitter.
No, you really can't. But you know, I fight for
you can't be
those who need
hitter.
to be fought for.
You can't be everybody's hitter.
All right, but
Okay, thank you. So, basically, we want to welcome you guys to our podcast. The name of this podcast is We Don't Live Here Anymore. So, I don't have a problem with telling people my age. I'm 40. Let me stop. I'm 43 years old, and I'm proud of it because some people didn't make it this far in life, and I'm grateful to God to even be here. Pud don't got to tell you her age, but basically,
I'm 12. What?
where? In your big toe.
Okay, 22.
Okay. So,
42. 42.
Good. So basically, what we're establishing here is that we are mature women. That's what we're establishing here. So this podcast basically is to shed some insight and some light, to give some encouragement to younger women, to women who are our age. We're going through things. Everyone else is going through things. We're in the middle of the freaking corona. We've been here for like 18 months. Life is a little bit stressful. People are looking for hope and that kind of thing. So hopefully with this podcast, we can bring up some topics that you guys are too afraid to discuss with your regular people and just have some fun in it. Some fun, you know. So what we're going to ask is that after you see this original podcast, we ask that you guys send us in some topics, some things that you guys wish to discuss that you've been too shy to discuss, or that you're embarrassed to discuss. And nothing is off of the cuff.
Table.
Like, nothing is off the table. We ain't shy. We don't mind talking about sexual activity. We don't mind talking about...
I don't know if I want to know about you and brother.
Oh, background story. So, I'm married. I've been married to the same man, Mr. Neil Lasson, for the last... It was 21 years in October. I think it was 21 years in October. I just want to say one thing. I know when people say, oh, you've been married a long time, they don't understand marriage is not easy. Marriage is hard work. We have been through some stuff, and I tell people all the time, if you really want to make a marriage work, you really got to work a marriage. It is not something that comes easy. Then we got my good old Pud.
Single as a doorknob.
I don't know if doorknobs are single.
They kind of are. They sit on that door by their lonesome and getting ready to get turned all the time. You know what that means?
Okay, so basically, Pud refuses to do any dating, any online dating. She's not doing it. She's not doing it. I've been telling her for the longest. I'm gonna make her ChristianMingle.com.
Girl, cannot go on nobody's Christian Mingle if you are not Christian.
We're working on her, y'all.
Listen here. First of all, them Christians are the freaks.
Okay, Jesus didn't say you couldn't be a freak. Jesus said to be a freak within marriage.
Woo-hoo! And I'm not married.
So that maybe ChristianMingle.com will check.
No, thank you. I'm not meeting nobody. I'm not meeting nobody online. Okay, I think I will stick to the natural.
So she's not gonna meet nobody online,
no,
y'all.
online.
But I really want to say something about Pud. She's a very, very good woman. And I feel like any man, like not just because you're my Pud, like she's very good, takes care of her family, takes care of her children, takes care of her business. She holds it down by herself, and I really feel like women like her don't get enough credit. They deserve more than what they get. So we praying, because I pray that God gonna send her somebody who she deserves, that's gonna give her everything she's supposed to have and more. We good with that one?
Sure.
Okay. Whatever. So back to the good old topic, we don't live here. So we don't live here, to me, represents stages in life. Like about 20 years ago, I was miserable, I was angry, I had a lot of stuff going on. My husband came back from the military, he had PTSD, we had a lot of issues going on. We have had infidelity, we've had domestic violence, we've had some of everything in this span. And it's funny because I noticed that a lot of people who were with me in those stages are still in those places. And it boggles me. Like, how the heck do you stay in that same place for so long? How you stay in that place? Like people,
meaning what? Like being in your life still, or
no, not being in
having
your
your
life.
back, or
How do you stay in dysfunction? How do people willfully live in dysfunction?
because
How do they not
they
know
don't know
better?
they don't know no better, and when they do think they are doing something better, it depends on the people that's giving them advice.
All right, so let's talk about advice. Who's good people to get advice from? Like, what qualifies someone to give you advice?
Someone who's not judgmental, someone who would probably give you something that they would probably want for themselves, more than likely. You're not gonna give somebody. I wouldn't per se. I can't speak for everybody else. I wouldn't give somebody advice on something if I wouldn't want it for myself. Like, I'm not gonna turn around and tell you, well, hey, well, work this out with such and such because of X, Y, and Z. If I know damn well I wouldn't have tried. Like, I'm not gonna give somebody advice that I wouldn't take for myself. But at the same time, there's always a contradict to that, because you could give somebody good advice and never take it for yourself.
True. That can happen too. But then maybe some people, the advice they give is only the sum of their experiences.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not even no ill intent behind it. Maybe they've never grown. Maybe hypothetically speaking, they got married, say, probably at around 18, 19. Then they had kids young and they struggled the whole time and they never ever grew up. They literally have been in that same 18-year-old mindset in a 60-something-year-old body.
Well, yeah, we do have people that way.
Right. So then it's like, what qualifies somebody to give you that good advice? Like, I could give you advice that it works for me, right? But it could be completely opposite of what you need.
That's true.
So that's when I feel like sometimes people need to not just watch people's lives when they take advice from them. They need to really, really take what they're hearing, chew it up, dissect it, and then be like, okay, does this work for me or not? Because even I notice, like,
weigh your options.
Right, weigh your options. Even notice, like, when I give advice to Naja, she good for telling me, Ma, stop giving me advice based on how you feel. And I'm like, yo, it's not based on how I feel. It's just that I've been 25, but you've never been 43. But at the same time, there are things that have changed for 25-year-olds that are not the same that was the same when we was 25. Like, they go through a lot of different stuff we don't go through.
Yeah, they do.
They go through a whole lot of stuff.
I feel like these kids are weird anyway.
These kids are weird.
They're weird.
These kids are weird.
Okay? These teens are
we can't be judgmental.
pre-adults. They are weird. They do things that we would never have done.
They don't have.
They have no care in the world. Majority of them.
Did we do that to them?
No.
You don't think we did that to them?
No. It's society.
Okay, so think about it this way. I don't know about anybody else, but for me, I've always hustled harder so that my kids could start on a higher step than what I started.
And you could hustle as much as you want. If those kids' mind frame is in a whole different place, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
You could have bust your ass and made sure that they were A student till they turned blue. And they could still turn around and be the same person in jail for something that they would have never thought they would have done.
Yeah, that's true. You can't say what kids will and won't do. But do you not think that sometimes the mentality of the child is based on the parental environment? So hypothetically speaking.
At some point I did. I'm starting to feel nowadays it doesn't even matter about the parental. You could be the best parent in the world. And you never know the outcome of what will happen to you, to your child. Yeah,
but not about being the best. Okay, let's put it this way. So we have scenarios where we got kids who don't get no insight from the parents in their house. They're on their own. Literally, they're on their own.
Mm-hmm.
They're 8. Yes, they're 8 and 9, and they're on their own. They're in the house. Nobody's helping them do their homework. They're on the games all day long. They're on their games all day long. They basically have no assistance from adults around them. None. These kids have no assistance. I could see them having those kind of attitudes, like, don't nobody care about me, I gotta work things out on my own, yada, 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 yada. But the parents who put their all into these children, I can't understand that environment, that attitude coming from them. That I don't get. I get what you're saying. Like, okay, you can do whatever you want and your kid can come out any kind of way. But I'm a firm believer of the environment in the house has to be stronger than the environment outside.
Of course, but it's not always strong when it's a single parent family, or sometimes, I can't even say that, because sometimes the kids has 2 parents in the house and it's still an issue.
All right, let's talk about that. The difference between a single parent family and a 2-parent family. what are some major differences?
Well, I can't speak for nobody. I was always a single parent family, so even growing up as for myself.
I don't know. I mean, I would say that I can't always say I've been a two-parent household family. I've always been married, but there have been times when he's been deployed and I've been on my own with the kids. And so I've had to raise the kids on my own as if I was a single parent. And I know back in them times I was more strict with the kids because I knew I had to go to Walmart by myself. I knew I had to do certain stuff with them by myself, so I couldn't afford to have the luxury of being lax. But at the same time, I was also way, way, way upstate, away from everybody that I knew, anybody that helped me, and I had to basically depend on myself. But so are you basically saying single mothers are like that all the time? They depend on themselves all the time? There's no other resource. They got no other sources.
Not to say they don't have no other sources. I can't, like I said, I can't speak for everybody else, but I feel like me per se, because I fend for myself for so long, I felt like that's all I knew. So even if somebody did extend a hand, it would be, to them, it would look harder to accept that they're extending their hand, because they might feel like if I'm too dependent, or I don't rely on somebody else, or like people like to say, closed mouths don't get fed. I won't ask if I know I need. I won't say, hey, do me a favor, or hey, can you do this, because I got so used to doing it on my own. So therefore, if I go buy a box and it's like a bed or a table, I'm gonna put that bed or a table together on my own before I say, hey, can you put this together for me? I'm not gonna do that.
You have a point.
And I'm gonna teach my kids to do the same. But then here lies the problem. So a lot of men don't like that a female is so dependent.
Now it comes to that. So Naja said to me, piggybacking off of what you said, she said to me, I never taught her to be interdependent. I told her not to rely on a man. Now you would think that's crazy because I'm in a household with a husband who is the financial supporter. And I taught my daughter not to depend on a man. And she was like, okay, Ma, that's counterproductive. But see, here's the thing. My marriage has not always been a great marriage. So a lot of times I was doing a lot of things on my own. Now, a lot of times you protect the unit. You don't let people know what's going on inside of your house. You don't let them know you're not getting the support you need necessarily inside your house. So a lot of times I did stuff on my own. I put wall units together on my own. I took mattresses up and down the street on my own. I fixed holes on my own. And so I often saw not just me at that time, but there were a lot of other women who were married. However, they were single mothers. I know people who are married now who are single mothers who don't depend on their husbands for anything. The man is in the house and they can't rely on him for anything. I digress. So she said I told her not to be interdependent but dependent. I think it depends on your situation and what you decide you want. So the change came for me probably in 2012. I want to say I said to myself, if I'm going to be a married woman, I'm going to be a married woman. Like, I'm not going to be here trying to figure out life on my own and I got a man that's sleeping next to me. Because for all that, I could be single. I could go outside and I could get dick down without worrying about it. Like, I wouldn't have to worry about that kind of stuff. So the change came, we had a conversation. Like, okay, listen, we had our issues. What we going to do? Either we're going to be together and raise these kids accordingly, or we not going to be together. And that was a change. But for people who are single, do they put more responsibility on their children's father, or do they leave the responsibility solely to themselves because they're tired of being disappointed? I know some women who don't lift fingers and they make sure their baby father's responsible. I used to have that mentality with Naja's donut. Like, yo, F you. I don't need your money. I don't need nothing from you. This is my kid. I got her. We good. But now as she becomes a grown woman and is going into a marriage with a man, now she is being masculine and not feminine. And that's a problem. So do you ever think, as a formerly single woman, one day when you do get married, can you now be feminine and not masculine after being so masculine for so long?
I don't know. I think it all depends on the person. Like, if you know how to turn it on and off, then you have a good, it'll be fine. Like, you'll be fine. Or she will be fine if she know how to turn it on or off. Like, let's say if they're in the household together and she actually say, hey, babe, I need X, Y, and Z, or hey, babe, can you do this? or he actually sees something and he does it when she says, oh my God, I just noticed that there's a hole in the wall, and he turns around and does it. There's a difference. Like, if she could turn it on and off, then fine. But I can't say if she could turn it on and off. Like, I think I could turn it on and off. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, I'll catch myself. But there's a catching yourself.
Right.
So turning it on and off is not that easy, but there's a catching yourself. Yeah. Because then if you have this guy asking you all the time, oh, do you need this? Do you need this? Do you need this? And you're like, oh no, I got it. Oh no, I got it. At some point in time, you're gonna have to catch yourself and realize that you gotta have to let this man do something, because you're taking away something from him.
That's when it comes to catching yourself. Because I can't front. I had to catch myself. I had to learn how to fall back. I had to learn how not to be so boisterous and be outside and be like, doing all that. No, but you know, so it comes to a point where you begin to trust the person you with, and you will begin to become more easy, right. You'll begin more feminine. Because I'm not gonna front. I was raised by a man. So all of that sheetrocking, plumbing, I can actually do all that stuff. Wiring, I can do all that stuff. I went to transit, I can do all of that stuff.
I think I could do all that stuff too. I mean, I do all that stuff, but I'm kind of girly, but not girly. Because I'm ready to catch somebody, you know, I'll throw you down.
But at the same time, I've had to learn. I had to learn. Yeah, I know. I had to learn.
Ready to snatch bitches.
To swallow my pride some.
That's kind of
and think about the unit as a whole. Because what I've learned the hard way is that when you're so masculine in your marriage, you demasculate your husband, and what happens is you got them side chicks outside that be stroking their ego. And it's crazy because people don't understand how stroking a man's ego can change the trajectory of your relationship. And it's minor stuff. It's not even big stuff. It's minor stuff. Like, you have to praise it. Like, okay, you brought your check home. I tell them all the time, I say, I thank you for coming home every night. I thank you for being a good husband. I thank you for trying. You know what I'm saying? And it's like those things make the difference. Because it's like when you're so masculine, you find them start to sink into themselves. They start to sink into themselves and like, okay, well, you got it, so I don't need to do nothing. And they don't do nothing.
No.
They don't do anything. Because it's like there's no point. For me, men need to feel needed. They need to have that ego.
I don't feel like that should be a way that they should feel needed. Because I was told one time that me doing everything makes them feel like they're not doing shit at all. But I shouldn't. I feel like men shouldn't be or shouldn't feel that way. If a woman can do certain things, you should be glad that if God forbid something happened to you, that you know she can take care of herself.
But then, what is the point of him? You understand? A man's, and I think this is the problem. We've gotten so far away from gender roles. We're in a society right now where gender roles are not the norm anymore. It used to be for the 50s, the 60s, and sometime into the 70s. The men would go out, make the money. The woman would be home in the house. She would be the homemaker. She would make sure the kids' homework was done. The environment in the house was fine. The bills were paid. The man would just have to go out and come back. Now, we got into this whole 1970s thing. The government put the man out the house, and that's a whole other thing because they didn't want the black family together anyway. So now, for the black family dynamic that we're still holding on to, it's made the men obsolete. There's no other culture where they make the men feel small and the women feel bigger than the black society. Think about it. You got Asian women. They may be powerful, but when they come home, they're the most docile, submissive kind of woman you ever want to see. Spanish women, that could be her apartment, that could be her mortgage, that could be her car, that could be her keys. He could have absolutely nothing. And you would not think that man don't own nothing in the house because she tell him, Daddy, Poppy, all this is yours, Poppy. She make him feel like he the boss. Like, if he don't got a big penis, she make him feel like his penis is big as I don't know what. It's only the black women who find the need to demasculate these men. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that it's all her fault. Because I think some men have been okay with the fact that they don't have to do anything. They're okay with these chicks buying them PlayStations. They're okay with these chicks buying them sneakers and buying them this. And I'm not saying that shouldn't be the case. But at some point, I do feel like responsibility has to fall back onto the man and come off of the woman. You can share responsibility. But at some point, are women raising their children to be responsible men? Because I tell my kids all the time, like, I don't care what happens This is not the kind of man I want you to be. I talk to them all the time. All the freaking time. We're not going to have 2 and 3 girls running back and forth in and out this house. If you're not going to do the right thing, leave her alone. But I found out the hard way that a lot of black women don't sanction their sons. They don't sanction their sons. They watch their sons run back and forth with different women. They watch their sons not get up and get jobs, and they don't say nothing to them. And they seem to baby and pacify these big grown men to the point where they're in their house and they're being abused by these adult freaking kids they pushed out because they never decided to say nothing to him. Because guess what? I don't want to hurt his ego. I don't want to make him feel bad. So we all pacify him and patting him on the back.
Well, thank the Lord, I have no boys. Guess God didn't want to give me a boy for a reason, because I would duff him in his chest 24/7.
Oh, I
Every
definitely
chance
in
I
the chest.
get.
I
Every
definitely
chance I
right in the
get. You
chest.
hear me?
I absolutely did. I absolutely did. Because not for nothing, the responsibility of raising children falls on both the man and the female, not just the female. I've discovered there's certain things a woman can't give her son. The same way there's certain
not.
things a father can't give his
But this
daughter.
is why sons coddle their mothers. A lot of sons coddle their mothers.
They do. And a lot of mothers are irresponsible because they don't know when to freaking shut it off. They don't know when to say, I'm not your woman, I'm your mother. Get your tail out my house and go find yourself a wife. Or what the heck are you going to do when you get a wife? I tell my son all the time, if you're going to sit here and watch me struggle, you're going to watch that woman struggle. And I don't know about you, but I'd be damned if I'm going to give some man some vagina and he going to watch me struggle. It ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen. It's not going to happen. But I think I kind of, my daughter tells me I'm different from my other siblings. That could be because my father basically raised me. My father basically raised me. My mom and dad had an agreement. They got married when they were 18. They already had me. They, were in the church. They got saved. They had a bunch of kids. He worked for transit at some point. She went to school to get her degree. So she was out of the house most of the time. And I'm the oldest in the house. So I had my father with me all the time. So most of my mentality probably came from the fact that I had my father with me all the time. And there's just certain things I would not allow for myself when it came to men, because my daddy wasn't letting that happen. What you look like? Me struggling for money? My daddy didn't let me struggle. It didn't happen. And I get it earlier, y'all called me spoiled, and I get it. I understand it. But I really feel like that should be the norm. I think a lot of women get a lot
That's
of
what women are looking for in a man, and they're not all getting what they're looking for in a man. So therefore, now they do it on their own. Well, the ones that fight to do it on their own.
But what kind of conversations are being had? I'm just trying to think about it. What kind of conversations are being had with a man for him to understand that your boundaries say, I'm expecting X, Y, and Z from you. I'm expecting this from you. You can expect this from me, and we can come somewhere in the middle.
There is a conversation.
And I think that's the problem.
Nobody ever sits down to have a conversation like that.
I had a conversation with New. This is a funny story. So when I met New, and he was at his mama's house, I think there was Siobhan, there was Kanisha. Yeah, I don't care. It's history. We married 21 years now. They feelings, that's their business. So it was Siobhan, it was Kanisha, there was Tina.
This sounds like a Cool J song.
There was
Or was it DMX? Which one was it?
There was a couple of women. And I ain't gonna front, I was working in the we were both there at the airport. You know what I'm saying? I had some dudes I was hollering at. But I think I've always kind of been like, I knew what I wanted, and if it wasn't what you wanted, I had the freedom to move on. So I still see Kanisha going to mommy house, and I be going to work after leaving Miss Lewis' house. Like, okay, I see you in. Like, it didn't put no fear in my heart because I always knew what I wanted. So eventually I got tight, and I was like, okay, listen. So you got a week to get rid of your hoes, and I got a week to get rid of my hoes, and that way we can have this relationship.
Hoes. That's what y'all called it back then?
That's what I called it.
Hoes.
That's what I called it. No point intended, no disrespect to anyone. I was probably about 19, 20 years old. But I'm just saying, it's the conversation that I had. The conversation was, you're doing what you're doing, I'm doing what I'm doing. Now, I'm tired of doing what I'm doing with other people, I just want to do it with you. So if you want to do what I want to do, then we need to do it together. You got to give it to everybody else. And that's kind of how that worked. And we wound up being together after that. But I've always been very adamant with my intentions toward what I want to do in a relationship, because I feel like you can get into a relationship and not make your intentions known, and then you're disappointed because you never stated what you wanted. So you can't be upset with somebody if you never stated what you wanted. People assume people read people's minds. I used to tell people all the time, did you tell them what you had to tell them? No, they should know. Why? Because everybody Miss Cleo?
Are you talking about me?
No, I'm just saying in general.
It sounded like me.
I can't put your business on the podcast. I'm just saying.
Listen here, my business is the past at the end of the day, so it don't make me no difference.
I'm just saying, I really feel like women need to really clearly state what they want. And I'm sorry, I've seen a lot of women now stating what they want. And a lot of men are calling them gold diggers. And a lot of men are saying, oh, well, you have unrealistic expectations. Why? Why can't what I have be the norm? Why can't more women be completely satisfied in their marital relationships with their husbands, who are the providers and the head of their households, because it's a conversation they had in the beginning? Why is that not the norm?
Because not all men are the same.
Well, then let them be about their damn business. That's the problem. The problem
not
is
all men are the same.
I think
You can
that's the
sit there
problem.
and lay the whole card on the table and they still won't see it until they finally grow up.
So that's okay. I got it. I get it. And maybe this is the problem with me. And I think Neil says sometimes that I am a little unrealistic. Sperm donor before Neil. So this little cheating skink, because that's what he was. He liked to cheat. I had nausea, and I ran up the hill on him one day with my baby. She had about 3 months. Now mind you, my child was born with a cleft. Do I have time to play with you? I don't have time to play with you. I don't have time to play with you. My biggest mistake with reading him was I assumed because he had a father, he was going to be a father. I assumed because he was in a household with a man, he was going to be a man. And when I realized he wasn't going to be a man, I went about my business. I ran up the hill one day. I had my daughter with me. He got this chick sitting up there. Am I being punked? So I was like, yo, who this? Here she go. Oh, if you want me to go, I could go. I said, boo, do me a favor. You sit right there. You ain't got to go nowhere. I went in the house, told his mother, get my baby. And I left. And I ain't never been back. Because what we not going to do is you're not going to play with me. You're not going to play with me. There's certain things you're not going to do with me. Because at the end of the day, who the heck do you think you are? Who do you think you is? So I have a 3-month-old who was born with a cleft, who had major surgeries, who I'm sitting here trying to graduate high school, doing all this stuff by myself, and you want to play around with these woes? Keep playing. At some point, people got to make people accountable for the way they treat them. I'm just saying.
You do, but I mean, you guys were young at the time. How much accountable did you had really made him feel?
I had to be accountable. I had to sit it.
Women are always more mature than men.
Nah, I don't. You know why I don't take that? Because I have people who I grew up with who had babies with women around the same time I had my child, and they've always had their kid. It's men. They've always had their kid. I know men who have struggled with the system of trying to keep their kid because their baby mamas was flakes. Let's not talk about a flake that we know of.
So, right.
It's about accountability.
It is about accountability.
It's about what you allow. I think my dad always told me, what you allow will continue. If you allow it, it will continue. You got to decide what you want to do. And it's easier said than done. But at the same time, I think a lot of times I just decided like I wasn't going to have a certain kind of life. Like I put out too much. I give too much. I do too much to turn around and have you give me your behind the case. That's how I always felt. That's just how I always felt. Like it could be the wrong mentality to have. People call me conceited, or you think too much of yourself, you think too high of yourself. But it's what my dad taught me. You don't have what you don't ask for. You don't have it if you don't ask for it. You gotta ask for it to have it.
Back to what I said, closed mouth don't get fed.
Basically. But then sometimes, not just that, you can ask somebody and you can see very clearly that they can't give you what you need, and then you gotta move on. Like I know that sperm donor was never going to grow up. I don't know what in me clicked. Probably God. I promise you. It had to be God. Because at 18 years old, I couldn't have known he was never going to get better. But there's something in my spirit that said he ain't gonna never get better. The man is 43 years old. He still don't do nothing at all.
I don't know. I feel like everybody is different because sometimes a man could have the expectations to do right and do good, and you stick around and wait for them to grow up, and they still don't grow up until you're gone.
But I think it's the being gone that jogs them.
Yeah, but you shouldn't have to do all of that for them to wake up.
You're right. You shouldn't.
That's like a waste of, not to say a waste, because there is stuff that comes out of that situation that you don't want to say that's a waste, because you appreciate them and love them, especially when you have children. But when you stick around and wait for somebody to grow up and they don't grow up, it's like, they have the potential to do all these right things. They have all the potentials to do all the things that you want, but they just can't grow up.
What if they were never made to grow up? Because see, I'm going to talk about something now that a lot of people want to understand, but I'm going to tell you just like this. Sometimes I feel like with these men, their problem is their mama still a pacifier. And it's bad. You want to say don't blame things on people's mom. Especially as a mom, I'm kind of like, okay, stop blaming stuff on me. But if you see that your son is 25, 26, 27, 28, 35, and they're still in the same pattern and nothing has changed, it maybe take time to take a step back.
And let them fall.
Yes. Because the one thing that happened, and I really, it's very, what's the word for me? It's touchy for me. I've done a lot for my kids. I've coddled my kids a lot. And unfortunately, what happened to me was, I lost my sister. And she was the same way. All of us are the same way. We're really like hands-on with our kids. Like, I got sisters that make all of their kids' food from scratch. Like, my kids don't know what peanut butter and jelly is because I've always cooked for them. But when my sister passed, how lost my niece and nephew were kind of hit me kind of hard. Like, okay, so I'm doing everything for them, assuming that one day they're just going to pick up the mantle and do it on their own, not understanding that it doesn't necessarily work that way. I really had to fall back and be like, nah, I can't help you do this. No, I can't help you do this. No, I can't help you do this. And it killed me because as a mom, I'm really, hands-on. Like, to me, I think my kids are one of the best things I've ever done. Like, if I've never done anything else right, my kids are probably the best thing I've ever done. But to see my niece and nephew and to see how freaking lost they are without their mom hurt me to my soul, because it's like now they've been thrust into a world where reality is not reality. Their limited environment now is shattered by reality, because now they have to fend for themselves, where she protected them from everything. And it wasn't just that, it's like the whole covert thing. I wound up coming across this girl, and she's homeless. She's under the train station on New Lots. And you can tell that her baby face, she couldn't be no more than 22 years old. And what it probably seemed to me is that her mom died, probably from COVID. She was in the house with her mom, and now she's homeless. And she's out in the street, and she's trying to figure out life. And I just said to myself, I am doing a disservice to my children by doing everything for them. Because God forbid I die.
They can't do nothing.
The heck is going to happen to them?
But this is why I used to say that regardless if people think that I spoil mine, I really don't. I do, but I don't, because at the end of the day, I'm going to put my foot down. You going to the laundry, take your sister with you. I'm so serious. You're not going to learn unless you take the other one with you. And I dragged them to the laundry, and I'm just using laundry because this is the example of what they do. I dragged them to the laundry. Alicia's what, 20 now? Going on 21? Alyssa's 12.
January 31st.
Alyssa literally just not too long ago actually had no choice but to do like stuff into the laundry because of the fact that I went to go get money and the machine started after she put the clothes in. So when she closed the door, the machine started, so she panicked. It's like, Ma, The machine started. Should I put the soap in it? I'm like, yeah, because if you don't put the soap in it, nothing's. I was like, stop it. She's like, I can't. She's like, well, how did it start without the money? I said, well, we got a free wash. Just do what you got to do.
Right.
But you think that these kids are not paying attention, but they really do. But they're just fucking lazy. Why I say that is that I take them to the laundry faithfully with me 24/7 every freaking other week faithfully. And them kids will sit at the little freaking bench and watch me do everything, and they don't do shit. And they'll sit there like this. Yeah. So I'll be like, one day I said, so get up and y'all do it. Let me see y'all do it. Not one knew where the soap went, where the detergent went, and it was over looking at each other like. And I'm like, so y'all come here every day with me, and not one of y'all know how to put soap and detergent in here. I bring y'all every single. I was 9 when I did laundry by myself, and I did laundry for everybody in the house. 9. These kids are going on God knows how old, and they're now learning how to do the laundry on their own. How about Alicia, who tells you she don't know how to cook? But I get up in the middle of the night, and this chick made rice. So I had to ask her who you had in the house. She's like, what you mean? I said, who you had in the house? Because I was knocked the fuck out. So that means somebody had to come in this house and make this rice. Right. Who you had in this house? I got hungry, I made the rice. Oh, so you know how to make rice?
Oh, you got one of them too.
Oh. Okay. She said, but mine, I cook breakfast, but I don't know how to cook everything else. But y'all watch me every single day. Do it.
Every day.
So y'all gonna tell me, I'm sitting here killing myself, teaching these kids the world. But guess what? Just like when she was time for her to go to college, right? I told everybody, Alicia's not leaving. And why did I say Alicia's not leaving? Because I never saw her fending for herself without having to have somebody there. Like, how you gonna go fend for yourself? Like, you're not gonna survive. And I told her that. I said, I know you ain't leaving to go anywhere. You're not gonna go away to college. And even if I wanted you to, you're not gonna go. She said, how you know? I said, because who are you gonna fend? Who's gonna fend for you? Who you gonna fall on?
I think everybody relies on the comfortability of their parent until they're forced to do something
on their own. But see, I understand where Eddie's coming from, because this is my thing. Her sister could have been showing these kids the world, regardless if she coddled them, regardless if she had them in this bubble. I'm sure she taught them every single thing she know. God forbid something did happen to her. Rest in peace. And it did. But you see how she says she felt like they were lost? Because you could show them something until you turn blue, and that was my example. Like, I showed these kids every single other week how to do this laundry, and you thought that they would have picked it up. And so one day I was like, yo, you know what? Y'all get up and do this. Let me watch y'all do it. And not one knew where the soap, where the detergent went, or nothing. Every single week, literally, when I was at that laundry, so was they. And they were like this. I'm like, y'all see what I'm doing, right? Yeah.
Because they had
But they didn't see what I was doing.
They had the comfort of their mother. You don't have to pay attention when your mother's here, because you know she got you. You know she's not gonna let you hit that floor so hard before she put that pillow up underneath you and make it all right.
Yeah, it's true.
But when nobody is there,
you don't have that pillow. I get that, but guess what? Sometimes they're gonna have to deal with it. Like, it's hard to say it, and you never want to see your child fall. You never want to see them struggle. You never want to see them go through the shits. But they're gonna have to go through the shits in order to learn that they have to do it, or they can do it. They will never know their potential until they're forced to do it.
Right. They will never have that relationship with themselves. I can see all the potential in you, but you don't see it in you. So if you don't see it in you, you're not going to move towards it because you're blind to it. You're still relying on me. You're still relying on me to spoon feed you. And that's why I stopped cooking in my house. Because you know what happened? Caleb's girlfriend came from school, and this joker got up and made breakfast. Not just breakfast. He got up and made dinner. The boy made a whole chicken, and he could cook rice. And I said, hold on, wait a minute.
The people that boils water, that burns water now know how to make rice out of all things.
So
rice.
I'm getting up in the morning, I'm cleaning the house, I'm behind the dogs, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And I'm the kind of person that my husband is not to come home to no food, all that outside food. I wasn't doing that. I was cooking almost. People at work are like, yo, you cook every day, don't bring no food? Because by the time I want time to bring myself food. I'm cooking so the man don't come in the house and not have no food. Then I noticed the girlfriend comes from college on a little break, and there's rice and there's chicken. I'm just like, I didn't do that. Where that chicken come from? Oh, I just threw the chicken in the oven. Oh, you threw the chicken? You threw the chicken in the oven. It was actually decent. It was actually decent. See, the problem is this. We have made them so comfortable. And I think the problem is that for me, I made my kids so comfortable because my father made me uncomfortable. Like, no funny, my father made me uncomfortable. I was paying bills. I gotta tell you the story. This is crazy. So
We got 2 minutes.
We got 2 minutes? Okay. Well, real quick. Okay, so we're gonna leave that right there for now. You guys, you like the podcast, like, comment,
Give us some input, like
feedback.
some feedback. Yeah.
Okay, anything y'all want us to talk about?
Get into maybe something you might not like that we do. I guess. I don't know.
Right.
And
Not that we don't
sure.
care that much, but I'm just saying.
Really don't.
But we'll welcome the idea.
Exactly.
We'll look into it.
You know, some insights, some ideas, some pointers, some hot topics. Because I'm sure even if we do or do not know about them, I'm sure we're going to do our homework and we'll get back to you.
See you guys later.